Hey everyone, here's the first in a series of videos about the lyric essay, the draft of which is due on Sunday. The workshop comments are due back to its authors on Tuesday, and then the final draft is due on Thursday. This type of essay is probably the most exciting. Uh, whole classes are taught on this, whole books are dedicated to this. It's a format that has been used for centuries and definitely had focus in creative nonfiction for decades and seems to be the easiest, but because there are so many different styles you could employ, oftentimes it feels like it could be very difficult. The main thing I want to let you all know about the lyric essay is that there is no one pattern that qualifies as lyric essay. And because you have multiple styles you can choose from, the idea is that you can mix and match and combine them as necessary. And the main takeaway is that you can't be wrong. There's no way to be wrong in constructing this essay. Looking at the screencast here of your assignment in the overview section, the idea of lyric implying a poetic sensibility concerned more with language, imagery, sound, and rhythm over the more linear demands of narrative is what I'd really love for you to focus on. Let your language flow. Let it flow out of you, your brain, your heart, your soul, your pinky finger, wherever it is that your power comes from. That's where I want you to be able to channel this into the writing of an essay. So we're not strictly sticking to forms. We're not sticking necessarily to paragraphs. We're not paying attention to margins or color or text or size or shape because all those things are fluid. In the past, I've marked sentence fragments, for example, because the power of telling comes from telling completely. But with lyric essay, the power of telling comes from the ways in which you tell and the power that the words themselves carry. So you might have in essay, the first essay, memoir, and the second nature essay, you might have the need for strict sentence structure, subject, a verb, and an object. Oftentimes, if you have a sentence fragment marked, it's because it's a dependent phrase and it belongs connected to something else. Here, though, in the lyric essay, the power comes from the images you create. And imagery is something more closely associated with poetry. And prose poetry, longer short story like poems, are an element of the lyric essay. So I want you to be able to focus on those. Braided essay, prose poetry, hermit crab styles. You've got the collage essay. You've got flash nonfiction. I'm going to have different videos explaining what each of those are. But in this overview, I just want you to take the idea of the power of the delivery of words combined with, that's lyric, combined with the idea of the essay, which, according to these guidelines, implies a more logical frame of mind, one concerned with a well-wrought story or a finely tuned argument over the demand of language. So on the one hand, I'm asking you to take the power of words and use the images that those words create in some type of structure that makes sense based upon the story you're trying to tell. So the word essay comes up because obviously it's something that gets written and presented and given to us. But the idea, instead of a strictly crafted essay with sentences and paragraphs and sections for a whole, I want you to be able to feel free to play with the delivery. You might have bursts of images, you might have strings of words, you might have collections of sentences, but the idea is that when people pick up, read, and finish to put down your essay, they will have taken away an entire picture that you've created, not necessarily based solely on strictly rigid formats and procedures. I know this sounds open-ended. I know this kind of sounds, cloud-like and ephemeral, but the whole idea is you're not locked in to specifics. You can play with it. You can have fun with it. You can create what you'd like to read if you were reading an essay on whatever subject you choose to write about. Now, the thing with creative nonfiction ultimately is you're taking fact and you're playing with it so that it's able to more directly connect with whomever reads it. So you get to punch up exactly what you feel are the most important elements. If you're a sound person, sounds. If you're a sight person, sights. If you're a heart feeling person, it's emotion. If you're a thinker, it's logic. But whatever it is, it's up to you to decide and choose to focus and put forth those elements you feel are most important. You can't be wrong. That's the best part. You can't be wrong. So this is your chance to experiment because creative nonfiction is an experimental form, and the lyric essay is the most experimental part of this whole entire style of writing. Can't find the off button.